Straight up 2 o'clock, everybody. I can't see anybody, so if I'm hoping there's a way to tell me if you all can hear me or not. I can hear. Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Miss Amber and Miss Christie. Appreciate you guys. Today's class is in webinar format, so your camera will not be active, which is why I can't see you. If you can see this, though, you know you're in the right place. All you have to do is attend to receive your credit. Your time here is being tracked, and Trek they're the ones that issue your credits, as you know already. But please give them about a week or so before you call and ask why we haven't done it, because we don't do that. Trek handles that stuff. So to to see a schedule and sign up for any other classes that we have, I went ahead and put in the chat already a link in there that goes into all those classes, and you just follow the bouncing ball, sign up for whatever you like. I've also included the name and contact info for your regional manager, Lucas Sanders. He's a really cool dude. If you guys are looking to book a home inspection or something like that, he would be happy to help you out. So please don't hesitate to reach out. By the way, we service Austin, Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, Fort Worth, surrounding areas. All right, thank you guys. We really appreciate everybody coming and hanging out for a little fireside chat about home inspections. So just a heads up, we will be recording this. If you want a copy of it, please go ahead and put your name and email address in the chat. That way it makes it easy for me. I can just copy and paste, and I'll send you a copy of it later. This class is good for a free CE towards your license. So you got that going for you anyway. As soon as we are done here, I will go in and submit the attendance, and Trek takes it from there. But that's real easy for me. You also may receive an email with an option to leave some feedback about today's class. All feedback in your input is all welcome. Okay, we are always trying to make this better, more fun, a better experience. So we appreciate any and all feedback. You're not going to offend me. I've been doing this too long. So please, let us know how we're doing. If you choose not to leave any feedback, that's cool. You'll still get all the credits and all that stuff, but my feelings might be hurt. So I appreciate it. And who the heck am I? My name is John Bolton, and I am the instructor today. I started doing home inspections back in 1998. I know, a while ago, right? So besides that and a degree in building construction, I have accumulated a few certifications and licenses along the way. I'm also a national speaker on all things inspection related. All right. I've published a whole bunch of articles and even written 2 books. I say this stuff not to brag, because there's always somebody out there smarter than I am. I even had a general contractor last week, and the pressure's on, right? So anyway, I just put this up here again, not to brag, but to maybe let you know where I'm coming from and earn a little bit of trust. Cool? All right. If you have any questions as we go through this, you all know you've done this before. It's hard to talk, chew gum, and use my hands and watch the chat at the same time. So you may have to just chime in. I will also hang out though at the end and answer any questions if you want to do that. I have no problem with that. I'll stay all night long if you like. Okay, these are some of the fantastic classes we have coming up. They're typically on Wednesdays. Anybody can join, so feel free to tell your friends and let them know that they can get some free CEs this way. These are some of those classes we're almost at the end of the year, right? So we've only got a few left, but some good stuff. There's some really good stuff in there. Also, while I'm thinking of it, if anybody is interested in doing a private course for your team or your office or whatever, also, feel free to send us a notice and we will get you hooked up. Promise. All right, so before we get rolling, this class is sponsored by TLC Home Inspections. TLC is a local multi-inspector firm that services, like I said, Austin, San Antonio, Houston, all the surrounding areas. This is what you get when you choose TLC as your inspection partner. We do over 6,000 inspections a year. I mean, that's a lot of houses, right? So anyway, we come from a whole lot of experience. We also know that you guys work 7 days a week, so we are available 7 days a week as well. We include warranties with all our full home inspections that go, it's that protection beyond the inspection thing. We also provide our clients with a home binder. If you haven't heard of home binder, for the client, home binder is one single, simple, secure online platform where they can store all of their home maintenance stuff. It's like a big electronic filing cabinet. Okay, they put their inspection documents in there, their warranty stuff, repairs, renovations, all that stuff, and then they receive free maintenance reminders and appliance recall notifications, which is amazing. You guys would be shocked at the number of recalled appliances. I have gotten free stuff before. Homebinder also, though, offers a free concierge, so clients can utilize that, help them set up their utilities and all that stuff that comes along with moving. All the companies, the repair companies and movers, all that kind of stuff, they are vetted for each specific geographical market. So, and it doesn't cost them anything. It's completely, totally free. And like, who doesn't like free, right? The part that is really cool is for you, the agents. Homebinder brands all these messages that are sent out and the reminders that are sent to the clients with your information. So it keeps you at the top of mind. It's literally it's free marketing for you. That's really cool stuff. Something else that's really neat is what they provide a repair pricer for the deficiencies and stuff that the inspector finds in the report. They're all researched to, again, geographically specific areas. And so that way you get some accurate estimates. That repair pricer only goes to you, though. Okay. So if you don't want to use it, you don't have to use it. But if you want to use it, it's there. And you just click the things that you want to put in there and you can put in prices and all that kind of stuff. It's really cool. TLC typically delivers their inspection reports within a few hours of the inspection, and as long as the technology gods are on our side, right? You know what I mean there. We have over 1,400 five-star reviews online, so we take client services very serious. We also at TLC back every inspection with a 200% guarantee. What the heck does that mean? That means if you're not completely satisfied, what we're going to do is refund your money, and then we're also going to pay for and send out the inspector of your choice to redo the whole inspection, right? That kind of takes away the risk out of at least giving us a shot. Here are a few of the things that separate us from the competition. We do free thermal imaging on every full inspection that we do. That gives us the ability to identify stuff like missing insulation, leaks that you can't see, breakers that are overheating. Your eyeballs can't see that stuff. Sometimes it's leaky ductwork, all kinds of really, really cool stuff. Most of our packages include foundation elevation readings. Is that tough or tough as nails or what? I love it. So that way you're getting real information on that house about the condition of the foundation right there. I think that's pretty tough stuff. With most of our packages, the irrigation system, it's included up to 12 zones, which covers almost every house, right? We do in-house termite, in-house swimming pool, and septic. And depending on what market you're in, we offer mold and indoor air quality assessments. Of course, we can take air samples, surface samples, depending on, what the situation is, all those kind of things. And sewer scopes. And before you say anything about sewer scopes, I am telling you, you would be shocked at how much stuff we find in sewer lines, whether it's from cracks and root intrusion or dips and bellies where debris accumulates. I have a friend in Miami who sent me a picture. He found an alligator in a sewer line one time. I swear to God, it is Miami, right? What would you expect anything less? And last, really quick, we are stoked to announce that we now offer the opportunity for clients to pay at close. Like, cool stuff, right? All right. Let's get into the good stuff though. Today we're going to cover what is a home inspection, right? What your role as the real estate professional is, what to look out for in an inspection company, helping the buyer setting their expectations. Okay. This is one of the biggest issues in all of home inspection and real estate agent world, right? So we'll spend some good time on that. Uh, let's get into it then. All right, we're going to start today with a cool quote from Tori Graham. This was a broker. Tori says a home inspection is the best defense against future liability for the seller and the most assured way a buyer can feel comfortable with the home purchase. I know that seems kind of boring, right? But I promise this won't be boring. Is anybody familiar with the famous, some may say infamous, 1984 lawsuit, Easton versus Strasburger? I don't know if you give me a thumbs up or something, I don't know if that comes up. So it usually does. So if you've heard of that, give me a thumbs up. Easton versus Strasburger. This lawsuit changed the liability idea from a theory to a fact. All right. In a quick summary, there was a homeowner who sued a real estate broker. 1984. Okay. They sued the broker when they had this earth slide, mudslide, or whatever it was on their property that destroyed part of her driveway and caused the foundation of the house to settle. This caused some cracks in some of the walls and doorways and stuff. The homeowner accused the broker of negligence. I'm serious. This is law stuff. Look this up. Easton versus Strasburger. The homeowner accuses the broker of negligence for failing to alert her to soil problems on the property because the broker knew the property was partial fill and the floors in the house were uneven and that and that they had used something to repair the landslide, an earlier landslide, something like that. The seller or that broker argued it was only, and this is a quote, I wrote this down. What the broker said was they were only obligated to disclose to the buyer known facts and had no duty to disclose facts that should, air quotes, be known. Okay. Unfortunately for that broker, the court disagreed. It held that a seller's broker has the duty to inspect a house and disclose to the buyer what a reasonable inspection would have revealed. I swear, I'm imagining a bunch of jaws dropping right now. Listen to this. The court said this about the duties of a real estate broker to include, and this is a quote right here, the affirmative duty to conduct a reasonably competent and diligent inspection of the residential property listed for sale and to disclose to prospective purchasers all facts materially affecting the value of the property that such investigation would reveal. No kidding, right? State community like immediately recognized that it would be a good idea. It'd be a pretty prudent thing to refer independent experts to provide a more complete, a more thorough inspection than they were capable of. It makes sense, right? The legal departments also recognize the opportunity to pass on potential disclosure liability by introducing another player, i.e. the home inspector, into this transaction. I mean, besides, who here amongst y'all really wants to crawl through an attic in August? I won't get any thumbs up there, right? So a thorough inspection will also help, buyer's anxiety. It provides the client with information that they need to make an informed decision. It's one thing to know about it and then be able to budget or negotiate for it, then close and find out later and then be forced to pay for it yourself. because there is no perfect house and we're still building and modifying houses with humans, buyers basically have four choices, right? Once they're made aware of something, the first is to budget for the repairs, right? And let me put it in a little different perspective. Nearly every person, uh, nearly just about every person, uh, maybe buys a house, what, 1 to 4 times in their entire life. Contrast that to an investor or a professional investor or a real estate agent or something like that that may have bought and sold 10, 15, 20 properties over their life. So for a real estate veteran, they simply want to know when and where their money is going to be spent. They already know they need a new roof. Okay. They want to know if they need it in the first year or the first 10 years, right? This way they can properly allocate funds and that kind of thing, or create a reserve, right? If say we're on a home and the AC is 10 years old, I can say you're going to need a new AC, but not tomorrow, right? If the AC 25 years old, I really don't even care if it works. I have to tell the client that they need to budget for a new system because it's beyond its useful life expectancy. So the other choices are to negotiate the issues that are found. And if that's not possible, then either accept the house the way it is or last resort, walk away. Those are your four choices. Budget for repairs, negotiate the repairs, take it as is, or reject it, walk away. But they can't do any of those things until they know they exist. I know that sounds like a pretty dang good argument to me. So, what is a home inspection? A home inspection is the non-invasive, objective visual examination of the structure and systems of the house. You guys have heard this before, all the way from the foundation to the roof, right? A home inspection is based on what we see on that date at that time. So it's that whole proverbial snapshot in time thing. I know you guys have heard this before, but obviously a homeowner can't predict, or a home inspector can't predict the longevity of a system. It can't predict how it's going to perform or if it will perform in the future. I mean, honestly, if we could, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I'll tell you that. It's like a doctor or a mechanic. They can't. It'd be impossible for them to find every problem that there was in your body or your car. It would be unreasonable then to expect a home inspection to find every issue that exists or that could ever possibly exist. Here's a really good example. All the doors and windows, they function fine in the dry season, but then you get into the rainy season and stuff sticks. Okay, that's just the nature of these systems. Lastly, we inspect home systems and appliances that are accessible, and they are all operated in the normal mode, not every possible cycle and setting. Okay, can you imagine how long an inspection would take if we operated the stove, the microwave, dishwasher, washer, dryer in every single mode? Can you imagine? Well, just for grins and giggles, I did this honest to God just yesterday. I added up all the features and modes on in my house here. My oven, microwave, dishwasher, washer, dryer. Anybody want to take a wild guess at how many minimum modes I have at my house? 61. 61 different modes. And actually, that's conservative because I didn't even count the different power levels that there were on the microwave. Like, mind blow, right? And some of you might laugh, but I have actually had that complaint more than once in my lifetime. Well, you didn't check, this mode on the oven. Well, I'll be there all day long checking all 61 modes. And I'm going to do numerous loads of laundry in the meantime. So, speaking of accessible, what does accessible mean? An inspector can only evaluate systems that are readily accessible. Readily accessible is when a property or a system is available for a visual inspection without requiring um, moving personal property, dismantling it. Um, so like this image here, I put on the side, we obviously wouldn't do a very thorough garage inspection, right? When you look at that, it's just impossible. And that's not uncommon either. I'm sure some of you have experienced that. And if you've ever experienced a hoarder house, man, that's a story. We actually did one time that made the news. It was nasty. Anyway, sometimes water heaters and electrical panels and stuff aren't accessible. Matthew McConaughey sitting naked in the family room would make the family room inaccessible, at least to me, right? Uh, like I said, we're not going to dismantle anything. We're not, not going to take apart systems, destructive measures. So if it's going to take us cutting a wall open with a razor blade or causing any other kind of damage, right, to the home in order to access that system, that's inaccessible, right? We wouldn't be able to accommodate that. Um, it's also, you also got to think that uh, any action that could involve a risk to people or property that would be considered non-accessible. Things like snakes in the crawl space. Yep, I've had them. I've actually had more snakes in an attic than I have a crawl space, believe it or not. But a, a dog, when no one's around to control it, I have been bit before. Things like wet or icy or debris covered roofs, those are unsafe. I've fallen off the roof 5 times in my career. None of them really hurt, but the last one, that was the most painful one. I was also the oldest. But that is a quickie on inaccessible. And inspection is really all about the 3 Ds: detection, description, direction. First one, detecting or identifying deficiencies in a house, right? Then a good explanation of the potential ramifications of that deficiency. And then direction, meaning your inspector should be able to provide you with a path to a solution. Okay, like replace the broken window, repair, or sometimes it's consult a higher authority, right? If the AC isn't cooling, then we would describe exactly what it is or not happening and recommend a mechanical contractor evaluate for repairs or replacement. Make sense? It's really weird when I sit here, like I'm literally talking to myself. I can see nobody and it's odd. But I get maybe that's okay. If you don't laugh at my dumb jokes, then I don't know that. I laugh at myself. What is a deficiency? That's a specific issue with a system or a component of somebody's house that may adversely impact the performance or that poses some kind of risk, an unreasonable risk to the people living there. The fact that a system or component is near the end of its normal useful life is not considered a deficiency. Okay. It might to the insurance company, but not to the home inspector. So just because the air conditioner system's 20 years old doesn't necessarily mean that it is deficient, right? If it is still cooling, if it's cooling and you have a good temp split, that's not considered a deficiency. However, your insurance company may say different. uh, Cosmetic items, things that really don't have an impact on the home or the system's performance, that's not a deficiency. So walls or ceilings that have paint inconsistencies, dings, holes, damages, stuff like that, that's not related to how it performs. its operability or anything like that. So again, deficiency is it must impact the performance of the house or the system or pose a safety risk. All right. You've probably heard the example before comparing us to general practitioners, right? The home is a lot like a physical checkup. So should problems or symptoms be discovered, the home inspector might recommend things like further evaluation by either a contractor or an engineer, whatever the level of deficiency is. Kind of like I said with the AC system. Sometimes we have to recommend a further evaluation. If we see something like staining from either, say, a current or even a previous water leak, we may recommend further investigation because you don't know how extensive that water leak is behind what we can see on the surface, right? So if we see we see a vanity and there's extensive water damage, we may recommend further investigation to identify how extensive the damage is behind the vanity, inside the wall cavity, if there's any fungal growth, the type of the growth, or anything like that. Repairs, of course. If something's broken, we're going to recommend it gets repaired or replaced. Okay. Replacement, it might be a situation where there's an old, outdated 30-year-old AC system that is no longer cooling. In that instance, look, it's probably recommended to replace that system because doing patchwork is going to be expensive. Parts may not be available. You're dealing with old refrigerants that you can't get anymore, right? It's just nobody, not even contractors, are going to touch something like that old. They're going to replace. And of course, monitoring. We get in trouble with this sometimes, and I don't like that. But to refer back to that snapshot in time thing, if you're seeing a water stain on the ceiling and it's dry today, okay, we might have to recommend monitoring that to make sure that that leak was actually fixed, right? It's one thing for somebody to say, "Yeah, I had it fixed," and they may not have, or they may not have had it repaired properly. We don't know. We can't prove things. If we can't prove it, then we're going to have to recommend monitoring. So a little bit more specific, the inspection is a limited visual survey, basic performance evaluation, the house, the systems, components, using the normal controls that it provides information regarding the general condition of the residence at the time, excuse me, at the time of the inspection, in accordance with TREC standards. Sorry. TREC is the licensing and governing organization for inspectors, just like agents. Good news, TREC has one of the highest education requirements in the country for a home inspector, if you didn't know that. So the inspection scope is spelled out and it comes straight from TREC. It's things like foundation, roof, mechanicals, electricals, plumbing, appliances, grading and drainage, all those things there. There's a lot of things on the list. Now, there are some limitations in household appliances, just so you know, like washers and dryers and refrigerators. You're not going to operate or determine the condition of clothes washers and dryers or even refrigerators on the TREC form. Okay, that's the form that every inspector in the state has to use. The reason is those appliances typically convey with the seller. Optional systems like water softeners, AV equipment, security systems especially, those are also not included. Unfortunately, for things like security systems, there's so many various types and manufacturers of systems out there. I don't know who would be able to learn them all, get trained on all of them, and then be able to evaluate every single one of them because there's so many. Think about the explosion of smart homes and smart home features, that kind of thing. I think a lot of those would also, could require special equipment, to do a proper evaluation. Is the home inspection a guarantee? This is a question I always love to ask. Is the home inspection a guarantee? The answer is no. A home inspection is simply that proverbial snapshot in time. So we are unable to guarantee the future of anything. The cost for a home inspection that guaranteed and warranted everything would be grossly expensive. That's what insurance companies are for. That's what warranty companies are for. Some inspection companies, like us, though, they do offer additional protections, like warranties. Okay, uh, post-inspection services, satisfaction guarantees, follow-up inspections, those kind of things. So there is some protection beyond the inspection, but it's still not a guarantee. Okay, I think that is a word that's important to note anyway. Let's dig into managing the inspection process. This is where you put your capes on, okay? First, we're going to talk about your role in the inspection as the real estate professional. Your goal is to facilitate an amazing real estate experience, right? To be the coach, whether you wear your cape or not. The inspector and the inspection plays a big part in that experience. So your job is always to help direct your clients to the best home inspectors to help minimize your own liability. Remember back in 1984, the thing that started home inspections, okay? It helps minimize your liability and of course protects your reputation too. Um, you should also be equipping and guiding buyers through the process, the home inspection process. Help the buyer understand what to expect through that, their level of expectation, and we'll get into that. And of course, you're also playing both sides of the bar, right? Advising sellers as well. And then I guess lastly, navigating negotiations. Sometimes this is difficult, but that's what makes you exceptional. That's why and how you make the big bucks, right? All right, so a couple things here. How the or how should the seller prepare for the inspection? The biggest way you can help the seller prepare is going to be making sure that the systems are accessible. Okay, making sure the inspector has access to the water heater, access to the attic. I couldn't tell you how many times we got there and there's a Jaguar parked underneath the attic access, and you can't stick your ladder on top of the Jag. You know what I mean? Make sure electrical panels are accessible. Those things are blocked all the time because people, store stuff because it's not anything that they use on a daily basis, right? But doing these kind of things help ensure that the inspection can be thorough. Um, you have people that are a whole lot less frustrated, right? Uh, so when we get there, everything is there. Bam, we do our job and get out even quicker. And even sometimes the gas or the electric isn't on. Okay, this is one thing that you can help a lot with in making sure the utilities are available. It's frustrating for everybody when they aren't. Then it's an experience neither one of us or the client wants to go through. One thing we get asked a lot, do we want the seller there? Okay. I recommend giving you and your clients the opportunity to have free access for that day. But if they want to be there, I have no problem at all with it. Look, like it's their house, right? And the inspector and actually when they're there, neither the inspector or the agent or anybody else can be accused of something we didn't do. Okay, you broke, you stole, you said something, you didn't say something. Not when there's more witnesses. So that always helps, right? Sometimes, though, it can get a little uncomfortable when we're sitting there criticizing somebody's home in front of them, right there in front of them, right? We're going to accommodate whatever situation we encounter, but I would recommend at least when we go through the walkthrough, that final disclosure stuff that we're all talking, have them step away so everybody can feel free to speak, right? Without withholding. What will the inspector request? Biggest thing is going to be that all of the utilities are on and that no brainer, right? And especially if you're dealing with a home that's been vacant for a while, there's a pretty decent chance they may have, especially like the gas, shut off. I think it was more of an issue back in the day when you had continuous pilot lights and that type of thing, but it still happens. Water service has been shut off. Then every system associated with that, you can't run. You can't engage any of that stuff. So I've seen before, speaking of water, I've seen before inspectors have taken the liberty to go and turn the water on, and it was off for a reason. Okay, because the hookups leaked, and since now the washer's gone, now the water, flows all over the laundry room, and guess who gets blamed for it? Right? Us, the inspector, always. So it's always recommended anyway to have all of those systems active, ready to roll, and we can get in and get out as quickly as possible. Last thing, is the inspector going to find any issues with the home? Well, the answer is always yes. In all my years, remember I started in 1998. In all of my years of doing inspections, I have never found a perfect home. Not even brand new construction. It just happens. Remember, we're still building houses with humans. Here are some great questions to ask before booking your inspector. First one is, does the inspector carry the appropriate license? Right? Texas has a very particular process and approval process. You can't go from being a shoe salesman one day and tomorrow a home inspector, right? So number one, they need to be licensed, obviously by TREC. With the way TREC works, there is an apprentice, a real estate inspector, and a real estate professional. Okay. The professional level is the highest classification you can carry, and those professional home inspectors are the only ones that can do it independently without being supervised or sponsored by another professional home inspector. I typically recommend finding a professional home inspector right off the bat. Right, that's the easiest, quickest thing. Is there a sample report that they can view? Most inspection companies are going to have a sample report available so you can, everybody knows what to expect. You want to make sure that they're also taking a lot of pictures, doing detailed descriptions, and then of course, like I said, providing a path to a solution, not just leave people hanging. So how long will the inspection take? That's a good one. The average inspection, of course, depending on the condition and age, roughly rule of thumb, an hour per 1,000 square feet. Okay, there's always exceptions, but that's just quick rule of thumb. It can go faster, it can go slower. If you got a 3,000 square foot house built in 1980, okay, your inspector is going to take more than an hour, right? It just is what it is. There's no way you're going to get through 3,000 feet on a house built in 1980 in an hour. I think everything bad was made in the 80s, everything but hair bands, right? So what is the scope of the inspection? That was for any of my colleagues here that grew up in the 80s. Are you offering any additional services? I highlighted a little bit of this earlier, things like thermal imaging, the zip level. There's a lot of technology out there today to support the inspection and provide additional information that's really, really valuable for the client. Sewer scoping, like I mentioned, huge, really big one there. So when you're deciding on an inspector, make sure you're comparing apples to apples. All right. You always want to make sure you're getting the most value and the best experience for your clients as you can. All right. What to look for in a home inspection company. As an agent, you should look for the same qualities your client does, right? Number one, ease of scheduling. You don't want it to be difficult to get an appointment booked. A single operator might have a harder time answering the phone from the attic, right, while they're doing an inspection, while a company that has an admin can answer you immediately, right? Additional certifications. You know, there's a whole lot of stuff beyond the home inspector certification. This is important to look for when you're trying to uh, book a company. You want to be sure it's much easier to find that one-stop shop. You don't want to have the home inspected by one person, the termite by another, the sewer by a third, the mold guy, you know, all these different people. Then they find, you know, because without those additional certifications, somebody finds mold or termites or something like that, then they're going to refer somebody else, and now it takes longer. And sometimes you're asking for extensions or going beyond, or you know, the nightmare associated with that. So it's just a huge benefit to be able to find a one-stop shop. You want to find reports that are clear and understandable. Uh, I swear to you, this is true. It wasn't too many years ago. An agent told me there was still a guy in my area that was using a clipboard and handwriting reports. I swear. I can only think that it was an old dude that was retired and taking up a second job. But we talked about that when I mentioned getting a sample report. Okay, can you imagine? Can you send me a report and they've got to scan this handwritten thing? If they're using a clipboard, they probably don't have a scanner. I don't know what they would do then. I don't know. It's kind of funny to even think about. You want to make sure that the information is being conveyed in an understandable manner without being a total buzzkill, right? That alarmist. Uh, Professional demeanor. Our classification is professional home inspector. So you want someone who is going to show up professional and convey that to the client. This reminds me, this is a funny story, and I swear I'm telling you the truth, okay? Because it was me. I'm on this inspection, and I make my way to the family room, and I'm, you know, checking receptacles and doing windows and doors and all this stuff. And the seller wife is sitting there with her agent, and the agent is telling the seller this story. She was on an inspection. This dude shows up in a Hawaiian type shirt, shorts, flops, in a ragtop BMW, and he pops in, does the niceties, shaking hands, kissing rings, and he looks around. He says, "I think I'll start right here." And he sits down cross-legged with his hands out, you know, like a Buddha statue, and he starts hum, and she's, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I'm getting really good vibes." I swear to you, this happened. They told him to get, you know what they told him? Get his little butt out of there. That really happened. I'm thinking that guy was from California and thought he could come over here and do the same thing in Texas. That ain't flying in Texas. Uh, and of course, where was I? Protection beyond the inspection, service beyond the inspection. I always tell my clients that just because the inspection's finished doesn't mean my job's done. All right. Once a client, always a client. Your company should always be there to support you, especially through the whole transaction process. So, a good question to ask yourself is, will they roll out the red carpet treatment for my clients? They absolutely should be, right? All right, questions regarding the delivery of the report. These are really great questions to ask when looking for an inspector. When will the report be available? Okay, it's important, right? Because the sooner you get the information, the sooner you can start discussing issues with the client and figuring out what, if anything, anyway, is going to be negotiated with the seller. So promptness gives you more time to obtain maybe additional evaluations, have contractors come out and look at things, give repair bids. those kind of things. And how will it be delivered? Will they hand you the paper, notebook paper off their clipboard? Uh, Most companies these days, I think it's absolutely silly to do anything less than software because you can even get free software. Now it sucks, but it's better than writing from a clipboard. Most companies these days they do everything electronically. All right, PDF is obviously very common. There are some actually really cool options out there, though. Some companies offer an HTML format. You can get a little more interactive with the report versus just a standard PDF because those kind of things you can zoom in and make pictures bigger and it's really cool. Also, videos. Everybody expects videos nowadays, and most of the bigger reporting softwares out there enable you to put in videos. Will there be photos taken of every deficiency? Well, making sure that photos are taken is extremely important, right? If you've heard that before, no pictures, it didn't happen, right? I don't think that's a real big issue anymore nowadays, but will someone be available to assist me afterwards? So going back to the point I made on the previous slide, service beyond the inspection, very important. Once the inspection is complete, you want an inspector that's going to take the time to educate you about the home, the issues they find, potential repairs, if there's any warranties that might cover these kind of things, all those good things, right? All right, the cost. I would say the average cost is going to be somewhere between $400 and $500. You can certainly get it for $99, but that would be send the $99 to me because it would be a waste of your it'd be a waste of your time and money. The cost though is going to be dependent on multiple factors, right? How big, how old, what kind of additional services? Are they going to need mold, radon, termite, sewer scope, a number of other things? If it's new construction, um, those would be a little bit maybe easier because nothing's had the time to rot. Okay, if it's a 1950s pier and beam, that's probably going to take a little bit longer and going to be more expensive because it also produces a lot more liability for the inspector. So those are a few of the factors that can affect the price. But as with anything else in life, you really get what you pay for, right? Not all inspectors are created equal. Is cheaper better? And the answer is no. Put it this way, professionals with experience will always cost more than somebody that's new. Think of any profession, right? That's always true. So even if there isn't much, say, wiggle room in the purchase price, it can still be critical to know what to expect now rather than discover it later when the client's resources are already gone, depleted. All right, the next thing we're going to get into is equipping the buyer for the inspection. All right, here's a few things you can do to set the expectations for the buyer. This is huge. Expectations, right? First one is going to be the agreement. All companies are going to have an agreement, service agreement. And that's not just because the inspection company wants it, that's because the insurance policy requires it. TREC requires that we have a minimum $500,000 in E&O insurance. Those insurance companies are going to require you to have some sort of agreement in place. And the standards of practice, helping your client understand normal standards is extremely important. So kind of like when we talked about the TREC standards, helping them understand that we're not going to cut into the walls, right? We're not going to operate the air conditioning system in the cooling mode when it's 40 degrees outside. Can't do it. Things like that will help them understand, and coming from you helps a lot. It really does. Of course, setting the scope of the inspection, helping your client understand what is going to be inspected, what isn't, letting them know we're going to be looking at like we're going to be all over the place during the inspection. Some people like to try and follow and they get lost real quick. So, give the inspector some time. There are SOPs and scopes that you can see all of those online on the Trek site, those standard operating procedures and what is included and not included in an inspection. Next, when you have stuff like outbuildings, pools, say in-law suite, those kind of things, are those going to be inspected? Well, if you have any of those systems present in a home that you're looking at, set the expectation up front. If they want to have those looked at, we can. Okay, even things like storage sheds, but they should be expected to pay an extra fee for the extra time and the added liability. Okay, so if it's a storage shed you put your lawnmower in, whatever. I don't worry about those type of things, but often we have ancillary buildings that we do look at. What additional services they might need. I know you got your list of the ones like a termite, like you get that every time, right? What about air quality? Are they concerned about air quality? But I highly recommend everybody get a sewer scope. Please get a sewer scope. Even you on your own home, you will appreciate it. And lastly, how much does all this stuff cost? Right? Helping set those expectations are important. We have had those calls where uh, people say my agent said it shouldn't be more than a couple $100. That's a little unrealistic. There you might be able to find somebody that cheap, but again, send the money to me because it'd be a waste. Somebody that's working that cheap. All right, this is one of my favorite slides. So this is a buyer freak out, right? I'm sure all of us have had a client like this before. The deficiencies identified during the inspection were going to be discovered eventually. Okay, this is what I always tell my clients. You'll eventually find it. Better to have this knowledge up front versus buying the home, closing, and then everything you look at is yours to fix, right? They are responsible for everything after that. So this is important to remember. When we do an inspection, if we identify an issue, remember your client was going to find it one way or the other. Okay, better to find out now than be upset later. If the buyer chooses to move on, they will find a house that they can live with. Okay, if they pass on that. So if they think this one has too many issues, it's okay. They're going to find one that they can live with and that has concerns that they are willing to deal with. I have had some, people tell me right up front, if you find pink elephants anywhere in the house, I'm not buying the house. Okay, the pink elephant, sometimes it was polybutylene. If there's poly, in all houses, it can be replumbed. Don't care. If you see poly, I'm done. Okay, well, the first thing I'm going to go do is look for poly. If I find it, I got to tell everybody, and now I look like a bad guy. But that's what they told me up front. It's really all a matter of their level of pain, right? An investor that has resources, time, tools, all those kind of things are going to have a much higher level of pain tolerance than a little old lady with no money and no friends. Makes sense, right? So the more we set expectations and help them understand what's going on, the better we can help prevent freak out. All right, most inspectors really don't kill deals. Okay, sadly, I wish I could say all inspectors, but there are some out there that just don't have any bedside manner, and they don't know how to communicate. That's something that we take pretty seriously because, be honest, everything in the home can be fixed. You're going to find stuff broke, but anything can be fixed. It just depends on how much it is, right? Um, Even something like the foundation. Foundation's failing, it can be fixed. It's okay. The roof's failing, it can be replaced. It's okay. So again, trying to set those expectations and let people know we're gonna find stuff, especially the older and bigger it is. There's just more to go wrong, and it's been there for longer. So that's what happens. So setting realistic expectations is the very beginning of avoiding freak out. Um, the path to more referrals is always when the buyer's happy, right? After they've moved in. Um, so the more you build your circle of influence, the more sales you're going to close, and the more you can continue to build up your pipeline. Always remember, no house is perfect. This quote from Tim Ferriss, everybody's heard of him, so appropriate. Perfection is an impossible destination. Even with brand new construction, we're going to find stuff, all right? That's why new construction inspections actually are so popular now in Texas. Um, Builders are moving fast, right? There's tons of construction going on. So we focus on giving our clients the best information that we possibly can before they move in. Let's talk about the role of the agent to the buyer. Okay. Agents, you can help communicate what the inspector should be mindful of during the inspection. Okay. So you really can help us better understand the concerns of your client. You can let us know, hey, my client has a really big concern about the back patio. We saw some wood rot and we want to know like what's the issue? Does it have a structural problem or not? Uh, Tell us this stuff up front and we can address it. Let us know. And if you have to do that initial walk where they decide if this is the home for them, and they say, hey, look, we have a child that has really bad asthma. Like air quality is a huge concern. So let us know these type of things. So when we do our walkthrough, our recap with the client, we can make sure that we address those particular concerns while everybody's there. And I promise you, when they hear what their biggest concerns are, everything goes much smoother. Advise the inspector on areas that have been recently updated or serviced. Okay, this is pretty big. If you know the AC was recently serviced or repairs were done because of damages discovered on a previous inspection or something like that, so we don't spend time trying to figure something out that could cause us to maybe even report something as concealed, right? Rather, we can simply state facts, what you told us, and the visual observations that we see, and everybody's a lot happier and feels better about that. And that leads me into my next point. Areas that are going to be replaced or have been previously disclosed as deficient, let us know. Okay, so we don't go into the kitchen and they already plan on replacing the dishwasher and they're going to put in a new range and that kind of stuff. We won't waste our time, right? We'll put in the report does not convey or budgeted for replacement already, something like that in the report, and move on. That way, everything goes smoother, faster if you let us know up front. Many issues found by inspectors, they can be addressed during the closing, the whole closing transaction process. So what I mean is a lot of this stuff we're going to find is not going to be a major concern, right? We've all seen it on an inspection report before. A real common one is exterior caulk seal paint stuff. All right, it's really important to keep the exterior envelope nice and sealed. Many things like this can be, taken care of before you even close. A lot of stuff can be remedied with a handyman. That's the best. That's the least expensive. It goes handyman, contractor, engineer. So even things like a ceiling fan that's out of balance. All right, you can take care of that even before closing, and it's cheap. Most major deficiencies will need to be evaluated by a licensed professional, a contractor, or an engineer. All right. I talked about this a little bit earlier. If we identify an AC system that's not performing as intended, you will want to get a professional out there for multiple reasons. One, we need to know that what's not working properly. It could be a whole bunch of things. Some are cheap, some are expensive. A capacitor, cheap. They're literally anywhere from $10 to $35. That's an average range. Of course, the one on mine is $65, but ask me how I know. Is it a fan motor that might cost more? The compressor is going to be the most expensive component in that system. Okay. But what's causing the issue that we're finding in the field? Knowledge is power. And even more importantly, you need to put a number on these issues, right? So I would say don't negotiate on an average. While you might know it's around $2,000 average to fix an AC system, sometimes I've seen the technician come out and say, this entire unit shot, you need to have it replaced right now. You're going to be hot and sweaty and scare people. And now they've negotiated for a price that's actually, you've negotiated for a price that's not accurate, right? So again, the more you guys can help inspectors through the process, the better everyone will be. My last point is important. I really want to drive this home. Inspectors should never advise a client on negotiations during this whole process. Okay. The reason's important because, well, it's not my job, right? We don't have all the information needed to advise clients on what they should and shouldn't negotiate. None of our business. I really don't care. My job is to take pictures of the stuff that's not working or broke. And then we put it in a report and tell you that's our job. That's it. We don't know. We also don't know what they're paying for the home, right? We don't know what the comps are. Okay. They should be getting an amazing deal on this home and all the repairs are already priced into it. We don't know. So if we go into it saying you really need to negotiate this, it's only going to lead to problems for you and the client. So if you have an inspector trying to help advise these negotiations, you're using the wrong guy or gal. Our job is to convey information. Your job is to do the advising and the negotiating. I don't think I have any arguments there, right? Cool. Attending the inspection. Should the buyer attend the inspection? I say yes. The buyer should absolutely attend the inspection. It's a great time for them to get all the information they need while they're there on site. They can see it, feel it, touch it, and taste it if they want. So if they have a question, we can go right into those areas and look for ourselves. If we find a water stain, we can actually show them the stain as opposed to them trying to imagine this on a piece of, from a piece of paper, a picture. So having them on site is, I think, extremely beneficial. Should you, as the agent, attend the inspection? I know there's differing opinions on that. And it's entirely up to you, but I encourage it. Okay. One-on-one communication between the client and the inspector, highly desirable. So there's no misinterpretation of reports and disclosures, things like that. The walkthrough or the recap, most important part. Now, does the client need to be there for the entire inspection? I'd say not really. Okay. I actually like it. It's marketing for me. They can see me do a thorough job. They can see all the tools that I use. So it's not John's opinion. It's my moisture meter. It's my infrared camera. A good inspector is going to take time at the end to review everything, do that debrief, address all the questions, all the concerns, look at everything. You really don't want a situation like my image here where the client's looking over the shoulder of the inspector. It's distracting and it certainly does not facilitate a faster inspection, I promise. If the client wants to be there the whole time, I encourage it. That's fine. Some clients just want to be there, um, see what we're looking at, or just show up at the end. All those are good. Um, often first-time home buyers or the engineer types want to be there the whole time. And if that's what they want, that's what we'll accommodate. It's fine. Like we mentioned, we definitely recommend buyers attend at least the end of the inspection, but keep in mind it's wise to ensure a plan's in place if you know your client's not going to be able to attend. If they're not able to make it, possibly they're out of town or something, whatever. Try to come up with a plan up front regarding how they get the information. We've done everything from FaceTime on site to a post hours Zoom meeting. Okay. If they are out of town and unavailable, you can ask about doing something like that Zoom. Okay, afterwards, don't be shy. Ask for it. I always recommend doing this after they get the report, though. All right, it makes it way faster. I mean, way faster because you're trying to explain everything, and I'm on this paragraph and I'm on this page, and they have to try and make that up in their mind. So we end up repeating ourselves a lot. Let them get the report, read through it, and then have the debrief. That's the way better time to do it. If we were to call them, as soon as we're done, and we say something like there's a crack in the wall. Now, instantly their head goes to the worst possible scenario. They're going to imagine this massive 2-inch crack and the structure's falling down. But if they have the report and they're looking at small hairline cracks, they have those images that we've taken. Well, now all of a sudden they have a visual and it's a way better, less emotional response anyway. So if they want to do a post-inspection review, I always recommend let them go through that whole thing first, see the images. That will help tremendously, okay? And then, of course, there's always the FaceTime option while we're there, time permitting. Or, you could even pre-arrange a re-inspection for a later date, right? Always ask for it. This can be valuable because typically once you put in an offer, next step is to get the inspection done as soon as possible. If the buyer can't make the inspection but can be present at a later date, then pre-arrange that. If there's repairs to be done, then we can always come back and do follow-up inspections. That can be very helpful there. Who should, we're getting towards the end here. I'm sorry. Um, who should the buyer bring to the inspection? This is real important. Please don't tell them to bring the entire family. It only slows everything down. But sometimes they may want some third-party people there, an AC tech or a roofer, or a lot of times, you see they have their painters and their carpet people, wood floor people, all those kind of things. Just tell them not to bring the entire family. All right, answering your client's questions. So even the best inspectors don't know everything. All right, a good one's going to admit that. We're a jack of trades, master of almost none. Some inspectors have different backgrounds, different experiences. For me, I've been around a long time and I've got a lot of different experiences, which enables me to maybe go a little bit further than somebody that's newer. Some buyer advice. Explain to the buyer what the options are for dealing with conditions that the inspector is inevitably going to find, right? This is where your expertise comes in. Do you want them to have money off the sales price? Do you want the seller to get it fixed? Or would they rather handle the issue themselves? That's going to be a discussion you guys are going to have. Yeah, it reminds me, sometimes sellers want to fix things themselves, and it's not always right when we come back. It's not always the best. I would recommend all repairs be done by licensed professionals. Advise the buyer on the time span of the inspection. You don't know how long. Always check with the inspector or the office team, right? They'll typically be able to advise you about how long it's going to take. It can be anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. It really depends on the size, the age, the features, the additional services, all those kind of things. But let them know it's not a half-hour process. This takes some time. So should the seller have immediate access to the report? It's a great question, and we get asked all the time. The owner is the client, right? Because they're the ones paying for it. They have discretion on who gets it and when. That's totally up to you. So we send it to you. You do whatever you want with it. That's a TREC guideline as well, not just a company policy. TREC says we cannot just give the report out to whoever wants it, unless they've got $1 million in their pocket. Then they probably aren't looking at that house anyway, right? All right, so remember to, going into the closing here, I know we're running a tad late, sorry. Just remember to make arrangements for the inspection, fee payment, right? If the agent is the sole contact before, the inspection, very important. Every company, they're actually not going to release the inspection report until the fee is paid. It's just too risky. I've had it in my career where somebody gets the inspection report and then says, well, I'm not going to pay for it. And they know that they're not going to get sued for $500. So arrange the payment stuff up front, and make sure agreements are signed and all that kind of stuff. So this is actually the last slide. So 1 second. What if we find a problem? I would like to close with this. They will. Every inspector is going to find it. You have to expect that, all right? Most inspectors will find a problem, whether it's new or old, large or small, from every market, cheap houses, expensive houses, it doesn't matter. $10 million houses, we're still going to find deficiencies. That perfect house just doesn't exist, but there's nothing that can't be fixed, okay, or replaced. And sometimes it's a blessing. Sometimes you get to get rid of that 1970s vintage tile that you hate, right? That just makes it an easier decision, right? So let them know, and the inspection is not a pass-fail, right? Let them know that. I can't tell you how many times that somebody has asked me, so did the house pass? It's not a pass-fail. Our job is simply to provide the client with information so they can make a buying decision. Somebody that has contractors in their family, well, they're going to make different decisions than that little old lady with no resources and no friends, okay? And that is all, folks. I really do appreciate everybody. Appreciate everybody for coming. Thanks so much. We really appreciate it. And, I'm always here as a resource if you need it. If anybody wants to sit and ask some questions, talk some shop, I am here.
Thank you, John.
Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. And thanks for the thumbs up there, Miss Christie. All right. Signed up for 3 more. Woo-hoo.
Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.
Happy Thanksgiving, y'all. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.